How you doing, everyone? It's Kevin. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Firewood splitting wedge. These guys right here. If you don't have a log splitter, this is going to be the ideal thing for you to start splitting firewood, especially them ones you can't even split with a hatchet. These guys will split them. Okay, these are my firewood splitting wedges. As you can see, I have 4 of them, and you wonder, why do I have so many of them? Well, I also use these to split fence posts, and maybe in a later video we'll do a few fence posts and I'll show you how they work. But right now we're going to talk to you just a little bit about the wedge, the firewood splitting wedge, and some of the maintenance you need to do to these things as you're using them. Okay, these are my 4 splitting wedges. These wedges here you can probably pick up for around $20. I will leave some links in the description down below. If you guys are interested in picking any of these wedges up, you'll be able to pick them up on Amazon there. Let's set these off to the side. Let's go to these 2 here. These are almost the same, but as you can notice, I've used this one a lot more than I've used this one here. Look at the lengths. This one here is much shorter than this one. That's because this one's been ground down more. I use this to beat more with, and as it gets beat down, you have to grind the mushroom off the sides of it. If not, these little flakes of metal, see if we can get them. See, I've already ground these all down. Done that years ago, but it starts to mushroom right on the edge. It'll start mushrooming right here, and those little pieces of metal will fly off and hit you. Now, as far as being sharp, you want these to be fairly sharp, so you can get them in a piece of wood. These cheaper ones here, they're not really that sharp, and they're a little harder to get in the wood unless you grind them down. Now this one here is really sharp, and this is my good starter wedge. These 2 here are my good starter wedges. I start my split with these 2 and finish it up with these guys here. So let me show you what you do to the tops of these. Now, as far as maintenance to these guys, one thing, you want to keep your tip sharp as you can, and you want to keep the mushroom off of the pounding edge, the edge that we use to beat on. We don't want that mushroom over. And if you don't have, well, I do have a 2x72" grinder. I'll knock these down really, really fast, but I don't have it here. So if you have a grinder, like a bench grinder, that'll work to grind them down. Or you can just use a plain old grinder, 4" grinder, and then you want to just knock the edge off. So let's knock a little bit of the edge off, just show you how you do it. Now, if you keep up with these edges, they don't get really bad, and it doesn't take you long to grind them down. But if you don't keep up with them, they could be pretty rough to get that lip off of there, especially if you don't have a good grinder or something to get it off. You want to make sure you keep that off, and make sure you're wearing safety glasses when you're using these, because if a piece of that does come off, hit you in the eye, you might lose it. So that's just a little bit of the maintenance you have to do. There's not really much to the maintenance. That's a major thing though, keeping that lip off of there. Now, as far as tools that you might need, I always keep a little hatchet, just a small hatchet to knock off some stuff. In case there's a couple splinters in there I need to chop, I can use this. And then I use a nice little sledgehammer. Now, I know this is a short-handled one, but this is all I need to bust this wood. Alright, let's get to splitting this piece of firewood. Now, if you just look at the firewood, you'll see cracks in it. These are cracks from when it's drying. It's just a natural crack where it's starting to dry, and you can see this crack goes all the way across, and this one starts right here and goes up this way. And they're the biggest cracks in the wood. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it right in that crack as close as I can, And then we're going to go ahead and start beating this down. Now this is my sharpest wedge I have. This is going to be the easiest one to get in the wood. If it's not sharp, you're going to have a rough time getting it in that wood. It's going to want to bounce. This wood here is locust, and it's some of the hardest woods you're going to find to split. But it's some of the longest burning wood you can get. That's why I like using it. And I usually try to split them in as big a hunk as I can get in my furnace, because that bigger hunk is going to burn longer. So let's get to splitting. Okay, we got it started. You can hear it cracking just a little bit in there. Listen to that thing cracking. Okay, now that we got that wedge, it's as far as we can get it down in there. We're going to take one of our cheaper wedges. And we don't want to hit our other wedge that's inside there. So I'm going to go as close as I can to the bottom. Okay, now we loosened up our wedge so we can pull the good wedge out, the sharp one. And we'll see if we can split this thing by hand, pull it apart. And the reason why I keep a hatchet is so I could cut some of these guys off. Now we got two nice pieces of wood. So we'll set that one over there. And now you remember that other natural crack we had? As you can see how big this crack is, that's where we're going to start our wedge again. We're going to take our sharp wedge, stick it in the crack. We'll see if we can pull it apart. Yeah. So now we got three really nice good hunks of locust firewood. These guys will burn for a long time. Okay, just a little bit harder piece of wood. That one there had no knots in it. It was a nice straight piece. This one here, as you can see, it has a knot here and a knot over here. So this is where a limb grew out the side, and I always tried to split the wood so the limb is going down. Like if that limb was to stick out, it would be out this way. I don't want it coming out the top. That's just my preference of how to split wood. I've always had better luck with the limb going in an angle down instead of the limb going up like it would normally do on a tree. So I wanted to split this one because I knew it was going to be harder, but what I did is I'm looking for my natural split in the wood. So we're going to get our wedge and put it in that split right in there, and then we're going to start working on this one. Now you could use a sledgehammer if you want. That's up to you. Whatever you want, that's fine. Alright, now we got that wedge in. We'll start the other wedge the same way, down here on the bottom. I always try to do this on either another piece of wood, but I have mine belt down underneath here. It's a big, heavy, thick rubber, and it keeps it from damaging my tip. Okay, as you can see, we got both wedges down in there. I think we'll be fine. Both of our wedges are loose. We'll just use our hatchet to nip a couple of them pieces off. Our axe. This wedge got stuck in another piece there, so we'll just tap it off to the side here. Take it out of there. Alright, so as you can see, we stayed away from that knot. We stayed on this side of it, and we got two nice pieces of wood. Now when you come to them knots, you're going to have different scenarios where you're going to have to maybe flip the wood over and then find a natural crack, or if there is no crack, you're going to have to split it right in the middle. But you know, it just takes time. But these are about the size. I can actually throw these big ones in that wood burner, but it's nice to have some manageable pieces. So that's how I split this wood. Alright, that's all the tools that I'm using to split my wood without a log splitter at this time. And they seem to do okay. There will be some situations where you may need 3 of these wedges to split one piece of firewood, depending on how hard it is and how knotty the wood is. As far as maintenance, don't forget, grind down your ends so they don't mushroom up. When you see them to start to mushroom, get your 4-inch grinder out with a grinding wheel, clean those mushrooms off, that way you don't get them stuck in you. Keep your tips sharp. Make sure you're splitting on another piece of wood or something that won't damage your tip, and I think you'll be okay. It's a lot of work, but if you want the heat and you want good heat, you're going to work for it. So, I would like to tell everybody, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment if you'd like. Till next time.